Good evening. Welcome to Geeky Discoveries. I am your host, Willow Schuyler, and tonight we're going to be talking about urban legends. Some may be true, some may be made up, but either way, we're going to have a creepy good time. But first, I have a message for all of you in just a moment. All right, before I bring up my co-host, I have something to say. Unfortunately, this week in my neighborhood, there was news that a cat murderer was on the loose. He got arrested along with his girlfriend, Chad Bex, and Irene Lima. Both Chad, unfortunately, has gotten off on bail for now. Irene is still at the remand center downtown. They're cat murderers. As the crazy cat lady in my neighborhood, this hits a little too close to home because the guy lived in my neighborhood. It's creepy stuff, so please, I beg you, please do not let your cats roam. Otherwise, they may never make it home. And I'm going to make a big poster of that. There was a Facebook page made to honor the cats that have been killed by this couple. And there is a petition going around in hopes that we can get the Canadian animal abuse laws changed in order to make sure that these two pay the price of their crimes. So just wanted to put that out there because this is a very concerning issue for all of us in Winnipeg and everybody around the world who love their animals as much as I do. Please, Canada, you need to change your laws about the animal abuse. These two cannot go free. All right. On a lighter note, hi, yes, hi. How are you doing? Oh, I am not hearing you. I hope that's not my sound.
Let's try now. Is that better?
Yes.
Ooh, yes. Technical difficulties. Okay.
I love the witchy hat you're wearing.
Thank you. This is actually one of my everyday hats. It's one of my favorites because I am a very devoted member of the community. So I wear it quite often. I love your outfit, by the way.
Thank you. I went to Halloween Alley yesterday. I went to a bunch of Halloween stores yesterday, but Halloween Alley seems to have more my size of outfits, it seems.
Oh, you should do like a whole. Is there a stand and spin? Can we get a stand and spin?
Hopefully the wheels on my. Okay.
Oh my! Oh, I love it.
I will get the virtual background off so that you guys can see. So it's kind of a take on Elvira's dress. Let's not flash.
Oh my goodness!
So very belt is mine, but yeah.
Well, I love the belt too.
So yeah. Very Elvira-ish. The slit is a bit high, so I gotta be aware of that.
Well, yeah, yes, definitely. I'm shouting out the podcast to a few people, and I was like, oh, you know, I love that. And I love your backdrop, that virtual backdrop. That is cool. I want that as a backdrop, like an actual backdrop for me. That's perfect. I love it.
So, as a promise, to my neighbors and to all of Winnipeg, I needed to talk about that story. And, so I apologize for bringing down the mood, but
no.
About, but I'm glad that you are here. How has your weekend been?
Well, I did face painting at our events, and it went great. It's the biggest it's ever been. The most amount of people, the biggest show. There was 3 vendors doing painting, so it wasn't just me. So I didn't feel like I was drowning and all at the same time not being able to see everybody in my line. So that was fabulous. And they were able to pay my flat fee because they have so much support now. So I am very... I'm very happy for and thankful for our community, our little town of Columbia, Tennessee. And because we're going to be talking about some things, I've got some Tennessee stories to tell. And that's why my backdrop is not too dark and too spooky, because sometimes in Tennessee it's green and blue outside. So this is just it. And I got my etched jug back here because, shine is a thing. Moonshine.
It's well, okay, let's go to the comments first before we go into because otherwise we might not get to the comments until later, and there's going to be a lot of comments tonight. So Carl Woodsman, as always, lurks in the shadows of the comments. Good evening, everyone. Hi, Donna, Carly Carleen. Good evening, Dan Hollyfield. And I saw Blade Thesis. Hello. Oh, he's not saying hi to us, but hi, evening, Carl and Donna and Dan. Hi, Blade. And yeah, he says hi. Carl says hi to Aubrey. I totally agree, Carl, that these people need to be locked up. I totally agree with you on that. Yeah, I'm really hoping that when court is back in session, I'll make sure that you guys are able to sign your names on the petition that is going around. I'll try to find the link and post it in the chat in a moment. So yeah, I'm hoping for strict justice on this one.
Fur babies need to be protected.
Yes. Eli says, climbs out of the Necromonicon after misreading a page. Ow, ow, ow. Hey, guys. We may need to know that page later. Oh, Blade, I'm just bugging you. Don't worry. My apologies. Good evening, ladies. It's okay. I know. You guys, you love us. Oh, and Darren, I walked in precisely right when Aubrey's comments about lurkers hiding in the comments. So, Byron Lore. I hope I'm saying that right. There.
Yes. Yeah, okay. One of the many amazing talents that Johnny introduced me to at the Kentucky conference that we went to, where we were live.
All right. So, you living in Tennessee, you guys got some pretty interesting monsters living in your neck of the woods. Tell me about the Bell Witch.
Ooh. Okay. So, I have to admit that because of doing this tonight, I had to look up some research that I've never looked up before. And I sent you those pictures because it's quite chilling because, a lot of people talk about, there are some other stories, but the Bell Witch herself started as a harasser of a family.
Oh.
She was responsible during the time of the frontier wilderness times for causing strange occurrences at the Bells family farm. So the Bell Witch is named after the family that she harassed.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So we think the Bell Witch, we think that might be related to her name. No, it's the family who called her out. When John Bell came across a dog-like creature, he fired his gun at the animal, but it quickly vanished. Now that right there is actually Dean, and we'll talk about him later. He works for the family, but that's the image of the dog.
Okay.
And soon after the incident, strange disturbances inside the family's home began to, and you've got a picture of the family's home.
Yeah.
There you go. So that is quite a big home for the frontier times. But that is supposed to be an authentication, an authentic representation. And these pictures, by the way, are from the Tennessee Museum. So the Tennessee State Museum provided this information. And so this dog-like creature got shot by John Bell, but disappeared, vanished from thin air. And inside the home began gnawing sounds, knocking sounds, chains dragging across the floor. And eventually the witch's activity became physical to the point of striking, pinching, and pulling hair of family members. However, most of the abuse was done to John Bell and his daughter Betsy Bell. The witch began speaking in full conversations with family members, oftentimes it directed insults and threats at John Bell himself. When asked about who or what the witch was, it responded, "I am a spirit. I once was very happy, but now am disturbed and made unhappy." Now, if you go back to another picture of the gentleman, that gentleman is actually an enslaved man named Dean, and he encountered the witch several times. Reportedly, he said that the witch usually took the form of a dog-like creature that sometimes had two heads. Dean admitted that soon after these encounters, he began carrying around a witch's ball made by his wife to protect him from harm. Some families and neighbors experienced unusual encounters. One incident involved a family friend named William Porter, in which he supposedly grabbed a hold of the witch and attempted to throw an invisible entity into the fire, unsuccessfully, as the massive weight and terrible odor of the witch were too much for him to bear.
Oh my God.
So 3 years of nonstop harassment, physical health declining in John Bell, and he became bedridden and eventually passed away. Like in 1820, in December, his family believed that the Bell Witch had caused his death by giving him a kind of poison. It was even said the witch had crashed his funeral and sang cheerful songs during the ceremony. After his death, the constant hauntings and abuse lessened and then eventually stopped altogether, mysteriously as they began.
Wow. That's crazy.
So Tennessee State Museum says if you want to know more, they'll give you more information, but that's a tidbit right there.
Oh, that is a good question, Eli. What happened to your stars feature? I will have to investigate that. But if you, I'm wondering what page you're on. Okay, you must be on the, yeah. I will definitely investigate that because I think the Scholar production page for Facebook had that. I'm not sure if that is available on my Geeky Discovery page just yet, but I'll definitely. Eli says, I'm going to streamline what I've got because I've brought them up before. Underground tunnel system in Gallatin that leads to Nashville and Lebanon.
Yep.
Haunted square occupied by a ghost of well-known lawyer, cholera victims and hanging victims at the hands of a corrupt Union general. Rumors of satanic temple in said tunnel system. Satanists, I'm so sorry if I'm reading this wrong. Satanists hiding in the hills of Cottontown and goblins called Tommyknockers. And we've touched on the Tommyknockers before on the show that preceded this.
and also we have a Wampus cat, a haunted Pine Haven school, a white screamer, a bloody meat rain, I don't. Yeah, blood and meat.
Okay, with all these like entities, like how are you guys still able to live in this place and not be so afraid to go outside at night?
Okay, well, this one I need to read because bloody meat rain. Come on, guys. Okay, that sounds really weird, right? A
Yeah.
story about a rain of blood and meat that fell in Lebanon, Tennessee in 1841. Scientists believe that a decaying animal was swept into a tornado and a heavy wind just rushed it onto that area in Lebanon, Tennessee. Flying dead meat.
I mean, I can't remember where it was, and I have a feeling that my husband might shout it out. There was a beached whale in the 70s that got blown up. I think that was in California, though, but they decided to get rid of it by blowing it up.
Oh my God. Well, that would cause raining blood meat. Yeah, that would do that. Don't explode dead animals, please. No. Anywhere near living people, close by living people, just leave the dead things alone. It will rot naturally and then go away all by itself.
But I mean, like, okay, so farm animals, like people have found dead farm animals and mysteriously claimed that it was like the chupacabra or like skinwalkers.
Yeah, Wampus cat. That one, okay? Wampus cat, a half dog, half cat creature that can walk on four legs or erect and is said to be seen running through the Appalachian Mountains. No, I don't know how we're living in Tennessee. I don't want a Wampus cat in my backyard. Moonshine will protect me. It will.
And then there's like the Canadian myths of, don't travel at night because you could be eaten by a coyote, which in my neighborhood, there have been coyotes spotted. We have all kinds of wildlife. Although I haven't yet seen like an actual raccoon in person, but I've seen them scurry across the road a few times, but never actually like face to face. I'm sure they're really cute, but those little creatures, are fast little buggers. Skunks are just as bad. But yeah, that's the wildlife that I deal with. In up in Canada, I wouldn't want to deal with anything like the cattywampus.
Okay, so that's the Wampus cat, but there's another one called the White Screamer, a story about a wild creature that would make a family of nine with awake a family of nine with piercing screams every night. The story takes place in the 1920s in a hollow near the small town of White Bluff, Tennessee.
Huh.
So a creature, an unspecific screaming. I mean, that sounds like a screech owl, maybe, or maybe
Probably.
saw something.
I like this. Dan says it's Tennessee. You can't outstubborn a Tennessean.
No, that's not a lie.
As a pagan friend, I've actually spoke to this Lord Ghost because I actually knew him in life. Interesting.
Okay.
Thanks, Eli.
Free advice after life, right? You can't charge for the afterlife price. It's
Eli says a Wampus cat, a favorite among fans of old gods of Appalachia.
Crazy. I don't. Oh, raccoons.
Raccoons are everywhere in Tennessee, says Kellyanne. Hey, here's someone I haven't talked to in a long time. Hi, Keisha. Hello, beautiful people. Eli says once read a green text on YouTube about a cult that worships unicorns in the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh. I would like to visit there. Do you make art?
I feel like you have to be very careful of, what you talk about when it comes to the Appalachian Mountains, because you might, it's like saying Bloody Mary way too many times and her coming through the mirror.
Yeah, I would actually like you to chat a little bit about that. I only know a little bit about from when I was a teenage girl, and people, I don't know what it is with teenage girls. Does anybody understand what it is with teenage girls and trying to summon this? Because, Gary and his demons. It's a funny show. And in it, Bloody Mary is hilarious. But in real life, she sounds frightening. Why would you want to summon her? Please tell us more about this frightening.
Well, and I tried looking to see where this story came about. And okay, so apparently there was these cards that people would get on Halloween. Look in the glass, your future husband's face will pass. And there was another one that I found, a happy Halloween, he is your fate, whose face you've seen in the mirror's face on Halloween. So somehow that spawned up the myth of seeing Bloody Mary in the mirror. And I remember it was, take a light in the bathroom, say her name 3 times, I believe. It seems to change depending on who's telling the story. And she comes through the mirror, tries to murder you, or you see images of, your face distorted, or you may see your death. But again, it all depends on who's telling the story of who Bloody Mary is. Bloody Mary is a legend of a ghost, phantom, witch, or spirit conjured to reveal the future. She is said to appear in a mirror when her name is chanted repeatedly. The Bloody Mary apparition may be benevolent or malevolent, depending on the historic variations of the legend. Bloody Mary appearances are mostly witnessed in group participation play. The ritual. Historically, the divination ritual encouraged young women to walk up a flight of stairs backwards, holding a candle, and I would not be able to do this. I am not graceful at all. Walk up a flight of stairs backwards, holding a candle and a hand mirror in the darkened house. As they gaze into the mirror, they were supposed to be able to catch a view of their future husband's face. There was, however, a chance that they would see a skull or a face of the Grim Reaper instead, indicating that they were going to die before they would have the chance to marry. Interesting. In the ritual today, Bloody Mary allegedly appears to individuals or groups who ritualistically invoke her name in an act of I am so sorry. Catotramancy. I'm going to post this in the chat because the smart people in there will know what I'm talking about. It is spelled as COTOPTROMANCY. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to pronounce that P. Catotramancy makes more sense. This is done by repeatedly chanting her name into a mirror placed in a dimly lit or candlelit room. The name must be uttered 13 times, or some other specified number at times. The Bloody Mary apparition allegedly appears as a corpse, witch, and ghost that can either be friendly, evil, or a demonic spirit, and is sometimes seen covered in blood, hence the name. The lore surrounding the ritual states that participants may endure the apparition screaming at them, causing them, cursing them, strangling them, stealing their soul, drinking their blood, or scratching their eyes out. Some variations of the ritual called Bloody Mary by a different name, Hail Mary and Mary Worth, are popular examples. The modern legend of Hanako-san in Japan strongly parallels the Bloody Mary mythology.
Oh, Hanako-san. Yes, that is very. She has this hair that just comes down, and it very much reminds me of the imagery that they put for Bloody Marys. It's quite creepy.
It see, and this is the weird thing. Like we have myths all over the world that seems to parallel a lot of the creatures that we see in uh, our own country, and or there's myths of, and having that parallel of Hineko-san and Bloody Mary is interesting. How the two can be commingled. Um, I don't know. And I know that in Europe they have their own Bloody Mary myth as well. So phenomenon explanations: staring into a mirror in a dimly lit room for a prolonged period of time can cause one to hallucinate. Facial features may appear to melt, distort, disappear, and rotate, while other hallucinatory elements, such as animal or strange faces, may appear. Giovanni Caputo of the University of Urbino writes that this phenomenon, which he calls the strange face illusion, is believed to be a consequence of a dissociative identity effect, which causes the brain's facial recognition system to misfire in a currently unidentified way. Other possible explanations for the phenomenon include illusions attributed at least partially to the perceptual effects of Troxler's fading, and possibly apophenia, or even self-hypnosis. Interesting. But yeah, there has been speculation that the Bloody Mary came from the story of a woman that would kill slaves. The Underground Rail. She would capture slaves trying to escape through the Underground Railroad. There is
one on me. I've never heard that one, so that's cool.
There is also the myth of her being Queen Mary.
Oh.
It varies depending on who's telling the story, and whether or not there is something attached to the myth is another question. I don't know that it's all speculative.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not, has anybody actually tried doing the Bloody Mary thing and not chickened out and did the whole thing? Because no. I took off the moment that any of the girls in my school were trying to do it. Guys,
I remember if I actually did it or not. I remember me and my friend, just the two of us, were going to. I can't actually remember if we did it or not. It's just, it was before I was 17, so it was like, maybe we didn't. But I remember everybody daring everybody. I remember starting at 13 years old, everybody daring each other. And I don't know if it was Halloween or if I was at a friend's house and she just happened to, I think she wanted to do the Ouija board. And I was like, well, if we're going to do that, we should go in and do all out. Right. So I don't know. Maybe we did that. I'm going to have to touch base with her, see if I can find out if she remembers if we actually did that or not.
I appreciate you guys getting back to me on the how to pronounce it. Campouts. Thank you, Carl and Donna. It is the practice of using a mirror or crystal for divination. It can also be referred to as captromancy, or my pronunciations, I apologize, guys, is terrible.
Captromancy.
Or enoptrom. and optromacy. Again,
No, those are
words.
no.
Words are hard. English is hard. Hallucinations include, but not limited to, ripping your face off chunk by chunk, a la Poltergeist. Thank you, Eli.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you know what? Speaking of like creepy ghosts from when we were younger, another one that came about when I was searching Tennessee history is the most unnerving, according to this person, the most unnerving urban legend in Tennessee sits about 3 hours away in Jamestown, where the ghost of a young boy is said to haunt the bathroom of an old abandoned school. That's the Pine Haven School. According to the legend, a group of bullies cornered a boy in the school, shoved him into a mirror, which shattered, so mirrors again, killed him. The group, not wanting to be caught, buried the boy's body under the floorboards, and he has reportedly remained there ever since. While the story itself is enough to give you nightmares about the school, the next part of the legend is sure to haunt your waking hours. It is said that if you look into the mirror in the school, you can see the boy's reflection.
Interesting.
So more about those mirrors.
Those are some weak floorboards that they managed to dig up and move.
I mean, yeah, it's a telltale heart, like, is it under the floorboard? Is he there, or do you just feel like you feel guilty?
Now I'm curious. Is this was it like dirt floor that they managed to bury him under, or please tell me it's not like the bathroom was on the second floor and
right
it's under the trusses.
That sounds awful, but that's all they've got on that one. If anybody else has any info on the Pine Haven School, it's just all that. It says Jamestown. It didn't give me a year though.
These details are important. It's like the ghost at the Fort Garry Hotel here in Winnipeg. It's like the stories that they just chose the most common names. Kate is apparently the ghost name. Oh. And I've told the story before. She apparently killed herself after finding out that her husband, that they had just gotten married. Her husband left the hotel to get her some medication. This was late 1800s, early 1900s. And he apparently was struck by a horse and buggy on his way back to the hotel. And she found out that her husband had died. She ended up committing suicide in room 202. Now, the names apparently are Kate and Michael, but there's no last name.
Oh,
no way to verify whether or not this couple actually stayed at the Fort Garry Hotel, and this whether or not the story of a woman committing suicide is real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to know. We need to find out the details. Yeah, I feel like that's important.
Again, it's an urban myth that has been passed along. Details of the story of how she actually died has changed several times, because some people love the story of the bride not committing suicide, but being murdered by her father in the stairway before the wedding.
Whoa!
So yeah.
That's quite a difference in the story.
Yeah, but apparently this ghost haunts the stairway and room 202. So I'm just like, well, what's the real story?
Yeah.
You can't just haunt two different places at once.
I mean, maybe it's manifesting in more than one place, but probably not. Usually it's in a central location.
Yeah.
I did find some more modern ones. So in the 1980s, when we were younger, a couple reportedly cheating on both their spouses with each other was traveling down Sugar Flat Lane in Lebanon, Tennessee, when they allegedly hit something or someone with their car. It was about the height of a man, or perhaps slightly shorter, and covered in fur rather than hair. The legend says that the man opted to bury the creature, either decapitated it from the start or returned it to the burial site to retrieve the head later, where it was preserved by a taxidermist and put on display for decades in the now defunct antique shop in Lebanon.
Huh.
What? We had was it? Oh wow, wow! I gotta ask people if they know about this. That is new to me as I read it. I was like, what? I'm, Lebanon's not that far. Wait, we should ask Johnny if he knows about any of these. I mean, he does ghost tours,
Might be a
so
new tour that he could possibly do for maybe next year's tour.
I'm saying there's some good ones. We've got a werewolf supposedly in Dixon County, Tennessee. Yeah, no, yeah. It's the legend in Dixon County, 1860s. A passing circus train either stopped unexpectedly or derailed just outside of Burns Station, Tennessee. Many of the circus animals escaped into the surrounding countryside. One of the creatures in the circus was said to be have been a pair of men known as Wolfmen of Borneo. They were reported to be half man, half beast, and were never recaptured.
Wow.
So if they were animal and not man, then there's a wild creature. And if they were men and they were like enslaved into working for the circus, they're free. Either way, there's something wild out there that lived there for a while that got loose from a circus. Man or beast, we don't know.
So Kellyanne says, I did not finish the spell or chant, and I had nightmares of a face for a week until I looked up a book on her in the library.
Ooh,
interesting.
Speaking of Bloody Mary, yeah. Okay.
Eli says he hasn't tried it, but metaphysics taught me anything. It really depends on what Mary you intend on summoning.
Ooh, so intention matters when you summon her.
Eli says, about the kid that in that school, and the parents didn't bother asking where the kid was.
I know,
right?
Well, I guess they must have found out after he was buried, and they didn't see him anymore. Ooh.
I tend to stay away from mirrors, says Dan. My other people tend to look back at me through them.
Ooh, yes, we don't.
Yeah, I can understand that. Some old guy stares back at me in the mirror, says Carl. Hi, Eric.
Hello. No, I have to say, I've never thought the mirror would do what it does, but as a person of a spiritual nature, I have never been comfortable with trying the mirror as a form of connection. I prefer cards, tea, palms, dice, bones, stones.
Yeah.
But the mirror and the ball, it's pretty to look at, but the thought of something communicating through it is a little more spooky. I don't know why.
See, and I think we should all bring back the Victorian era where they put shrouds on the mirrors when a family member passes away, because it's mirrors are kind of like windows to the afterlife.
Like it's supposed to be kind of portal-like, yeah.
So that I've always been fascinated with Victorian era mannerisms and what they do, and I have like just in my main floor here, I have like 3 different mirrors that I'm like, oh, I should probably cover that or put something else there.
It's always good to have a candle reflected in the mirror. And they used to say that kept evil spirits away. But the truth is that it keeps light reflected throughout the room, which helped encourage people to keep the rooms better lit. It's keep the darkness away, you keep the evil away kind of theory. Also, by the way, it helps fight seasonal depression when you don't live in constant darkness. So encouraging people to keep the evil spirits away by lighting candles was just, it helps either way. I mean, you dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's kind of thing. Don't be afraid to use the broom at the door too, because it cleans and could wipe away the dirty spirits or the non-ones, just the evil ones, whatever.
I like Carl's theory. There has always seemed to be a moral to these legends. Maybe Mary used to keep girls from vanity.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that might go way, way back there. I think Carl might have a little finger on that, because when mirrors came out, there was still the stigma, like there is with everything when it comes out and it's new. Oh, they have a mirror. Like when the TV came out, they have a TV. Oh my goodness. And they have, a flat screen now with unlimited 5G and Wi-Fi. The audacity.
Eli says, when it comes to ghosts actually haunting more than one place, it really depends on the energy and attachment the ghost had to the place in life.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's the thing about the Fort Garry Hotel ghost is, other than her having her wedding there, there's no real connection to her and the hotel. But I mean, why would you?
Well, I mean,
why would a ghost want to haunt the hotel?
Well, what is it? If it was the best day of their life,
there's no real connection.
For some women, that's the best day of their life. So maybe that was the most impactful last memory, and she imprinted herself.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, okay, so a lot of the ghost stories it's always a horrific end, a murder or suicide, and it's always a lot of these stories of ghosts are women searching for either their lost husbands at
or
sea,
mourning him,
their children, and some kind of displacement, like the highway ghosts, which I definitely want to touch on in a future episode.
Yes, there are so many highway ghosts everywhere, and different forms of it. Like you've got the highwaymen, you've got the mysterious dark woman, you've got the young child, you've got the person with an animal. There's more than it's yeah. There's a lot of Tennessee. No, in Tennessee, there's a lot of windy roads and a lot of roads that didn't exist that turned into roads. And you could swear. Okay. So just a true story about me. It's not an urban legend, but I will tell you this one thing. So I came in contact once, and I don't know how this is going to look to anybody else. I don't know if I'm telling this story on the internet. Oh my God. Okay. So once when I was very much younger, I heard this awful sound one night when I was walking home alone. And it sounded like the cross between a baby crying and somebody strangling a dog. And I have heard sounds since this day, but never heard this sound. And when I turned around, I don't know how to explain it. I still to this day cannot explain it. I could swear, to this day, it sounds so ridiculous when I say it, so I feel a little embarrassed. I saw a dog-like creature with a humanoid face. And I screamed at the top of my lungs. I had 2 lights came on and I ran. I just ran, and I felt this. I felt like something was chasing me. I really felt that, and I could have sworn that I heard this sound. And then I turn around, I stop, because I'm like, if there's something chasing me, I'm not going to be chased to a corner. You see that all the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I stop and I turn around. And there's nothing but dust from where I was running. It means, dirt.
Yeah.
The dirt cloud, from where I was running with my sneakers. And I don't know. I don't remember how old I was. Maybe I was 13-ish. But I've never gotten this image out of my head. I was wide awake. It came up to me. The only light that I was standing under when I heard this sound and turned around. And came walking into the light. So it wasn't like it was in the shadows. It wasn't like, I accidentally saw something in the shadows and the shadows were playing tricks on me. It walked into the light. So to this day, I wonder what was wrong with my brain, or if I really did see something terrifying that night. And I have no confirmation of this, but I heard rumors later on that some old lady in the trailer park had her animal had passed away. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or if it was any time. I don't know if somebody just, with a friend that I confided in was like, oh, there's this thing that would make it spookier. I don't know any of those is true, but I do know that what I saw was something, and it was not, and I don't know what, but yeah. So there you go. So urban legends. There's my urban legend for a small town in Georgia, a tiny little trailer park and bump BFE that you can barely get to now because I don't think it's a trailer park anymore. Yeah, it was creepy that night, and it was around this time of year too.
Wow. Victor, I want to apologize. I'm going to butcher your name. Chaos Tenant. When I was a security guard, I patrolled the night shift at the Governor's Club gated neighborhood in Brentwood, Tennessee. The whole property is haunted, especially the still standing original antebellum mansion. Wow. Ooh. Those mansions, I would love to be a part of any of the touring.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. I would also in costume.
We kind of have like a Victorian era mansion smack dab in the middle of Winnipeg, actually. And it is a very beautiful place. It's called the Dellenbert Museum. Ooh. And it was owned by the son of the first Prime Minister of Canada.
Cool.
So
they give tours?
They do tours, and it's a beautiful place. And it is tied with Manitoba history as well. The son of John A. Macdonald, and for the life of me, my brain's not remembering what his name was. He actually was one of the guys that brought the founder of Manitoba. There was a trial of Louis Riel trying him for treason. So, and the guy who owned that property, who owned that house, that built it, he was part of that.
Ooh, okay.
Oh yeah, there's a messy history of Winnipeg and Manitoba. It's yeah. One of these days, I'll try to bring on an expert that can tell that whole story. But yeah, it's I love Winnipeg and the deep history that we have, but it's also really dark.
There's a lot of powerful places that have some dark stories behind them.
So other fun myths or urban legends was the Slender Man.
Oh,
do you remember hearing this?
Oh my gosh, my kids were so into the Slender Man. And you know what? I have to say, the videos they showed me, they knew I was a scaredy cat. They knew that I did not like horror stories. And they made me watch some of the videos where you're like, is that edited? Is that edited? It's like the white woman, okay? Skinny black thing walking towards you. But it looks too much like a spider for me. No.
I know. This story is interesting, and the stories surrounding it. The Slender Man, the Slender Man is a fictional supernatural character that originated as a creepypasta internet meme created by something awful. Eric Knudsen, also known as Victor Surge, in 2009. He is depicted as a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with featureless white head and face, wearing a black suit. So, best way for me to describe this is for those of you who have played the Hitman series. He looks like the Hitman, Agent 47, but in other pictures I've seen him actually wearing a red tie.
Oh,
so he looks bald. He's wearing a suit. He apparently has tentacles in this picture that I'm showing.
No, I don't want to get anything like that if that is what I encountered that night, I think I would have died of fright. Though no, like more legs than spiders is not helpful.
But see, and that's just it. It starts off as an internet meme, and it spawned up all these different stories of people saying that they actually saw it. Bad things happened when they saw the Slender Man appear. Because the Slender Man's fictional mythology has evolved with an official canon for reference, his appearance motives, habits, and abilities are not fixed but change depending on the storyteller. He is most commonly described as a very tall and thin, with unnaturally long tentacle-like arms or mere tentacles, which he can extend to intimidate or capture prey. In most stories, his face is white and featureless, but occasionally his face appears differently to anyone who sees it. He appears to be wearing a dark suit and a tie. The Slender Man is often associated with forest and or abandoned locations and has the ability to teleport. Proximity to the Slender Man is often said to trigger slender sickness, a rapid onset of paranoia, nightmares, and delusions accompanied by nosebleeds. Early stories featured him targeting children or young adults. Some featured young adults driven insane or influenced to act on his behalf. Others include the idea that investigating the Slender Man will draw his attention. The web series Marble Hornets established the idea of proxies who were humans who fell under the Slender Man's influence. Initially depicted as simply violently insane, they came to be portrayed as puppets or the Slender Man. Marble Hornets also introduced the idea that the Slender Man could interfere with video and audio recordings. Maybe that's what messed up our audio at the beginning of the show. It became a common trope of Slenderman fiction. Graphic violence, bloody horror are uncommon to the Slenderman mythos, which many narratives choosing to leave the fate of the victims obscure. Shiara Chess notes that it is important to note that few of the retellings identify exactly what kind of monster the Slender Man might be, what his specific intentions are. Those points are all remain mysteriously and usefully vague. Yeah. So, again, started off as an internet meme and spawned off a whole life story according to whoever chooses to write it.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens. But with the ghost stories, it's localized because it's the urban legend. But sometimes it's as though the urban legend, I don't know, it's not always heard of from one area to the next, and then it's there, but it's almost the same story.
Yeah, and I honestly have no idea how. I can understand now how over the internet a story like Slenderman can be passed around and made to be real. Excuse me, but in like the Victorian era or even before that, several of the ghost stories that we know that we heard of as a kid, like I'm old. I didn't have the internet until 95, 96. How did we know all these ghost stories existed? That's the troubling thing about how ghost stories were passed around from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's a lot of the ghost stories that we know we were told by family members or from
Word of mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it, there's no history behind, a lot of these stories. It just happens to be there.
I like that through the generations, the idea that maybe some of these could be true has not been totally squashed until the science has come up for things. I mean, urban legends of vampires were qualified by saying that there are a lot of people that deal with blood issues, where they need transfusions, where they can go into almost comatose-like states due to illnesses and come back to life.
Yeah, the myth behind Elizabeth Bathory. She, apparently killed virgins and bathed in their blood to keep a very young appearance. Speculation of her being anemic later on.
I mean, there is the possibility that they were like, oh, we're going to keep her illness on the down low. Well, that means we got to drain the blood of some younger people, and we're going to do younger people because younger people are healthier in this time period, especially. And we know that they don't have anything. And the more virginal, the less likely they are to have, certain issues that might come up in blood transmitted diseases and things. It was kind of very smart. But you can see how that urban legend can turn from the truth to demonizing an actual real person and turning it into an urban legend from there.
Yeah. Eric Tepper says, my grandma's mirror she had in her living room, I keep because I believe it lets her have a place to watch my life from the other side. That's really cute.
It's very sweet.
Blade says, I could tell an interesting story about mirrors. I will, if you ever want to be on this show, Blade, I would love to have you on. Eli says, myths and morals have power, and a little bit of both have been lacking. Kellyanne, are you calling me out? Perfect timing for what I was blowing out 11 candles, turning my simmer pot off, and hanging the broom.
Perfect.
Hey, look, there is power behind a corn broom, okay? My husband told me the story of his grandma taking one of the corn brooms that we have and chasing off Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, well, yeah, you know what? If it's sturdy, you can chase people and hit them with it at the same time. I have a tiny little broom that I have on my door. It's on my doorknob to sweep away the bad spirits, to discourage them. So, yeah, I've always had that. I think it's a good idea. But the broom mythos has been around for a long, long time.
Nothing says it would be frightening to see like a tall German woman chasing someone down
with a giant broom, because she's tall. So the taller you are, you don't want a short broom. You'll have to hunch. So you get a big broom, it looks like a bat, and she looks like a linebacker, and she's gonna kick your butt if you don't get. I have a door cover. It's very sassy. And it says, bless your heart, but get your raggedy butt off my porch. And that's what I feel like she's channeling by that imagery, is like, I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna check. Okay, no, I'm gonna chase you now.
This woman is badass.
Like, she's a witch. She's a witch. Stop her. Just because he can't get away fast enough. Too late to say sorry there, dude.
Eli says the love of that hotel ultimately become her purgatory. Yeah, going back to the Orgari hotel. I honestly like. I love the story behind it. Like, I love the whole story behind it. I'm glad that it's become a big thing for us here in Winnipeg. But I also feel bad because it's like if this is an actual spirit that is trapped in that hotel, someone needs to go there and release her.
Oh yeah. I'm sure somebody saged the place. Sometimes they just don't want to go. Sometimes that's their last vestige of reality, and they're just going to cling to it until they can't cling to it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some spaces I've been like, oh, okay, this looks like a good place to live. Go in the door. Nope. No. No, I don't care if there's gas coming up from the ground or if it's a real poltergeist. I'm not living there. There's some bad vibe, something that's making my whole everything go, this is a bad space to be, and I'm going to exit stage left. I'm not going to make that turn at Albuquerque. This is no. This is a no. Okay.
I've gotten that feeling not just from old places, but from fairly new houses being built, and I'm just like, no, there's just something that's living there that has that energy, and I stay away from that.
That's fair. Someone asked me to do a reenactment on one of the battle sites once, and I don't know if it was just where I was as a person, emotionally, but all of me did not want to go to that space and do that reenactment. And I don't know if it's because maybe the battlefield residue or spiritual connection or whatever, or there's gas under the ground we don't know about. I don't know what it was, but it was just like, I was like, you have fun with that. I love dressing up, and I'm saying no to that.
Yeah. And we have places like that. We have an old jail also downtown in my city. And this place, they do tours in May for Doors Open, which free tours. Cool. And they get actors to dress up and act the parts of the people who actually stayed there.
Oh, okay.
I was lucky enough one year to portray one of the people that was part of the general strike, and who pretty much initiated the general strike for workers to have more rights.
That's cool.
This woman was freaking badass. So my role was being outside, and I made up a huge speech before everybody goes in, and the woman who did the tour loved it. But going to the place prior to taking part in the tour, there's an energy of that place that you can feel the sadness, you can feel the dread, and it's a sad place to be around. And if you aren't grounded, if you aren't prepared to spend a day in that place, it could definitely affect you. Yeah.
Ooh, pardon me. Not a lot of sleep in the last few days.
Oh no. Okay.
Talking about spooky things, though. It's very the new urban legends, I would say, aren't more frightening than the old ones, because the whole thing that really makes an urban legend frightening is it's realistic.
Yeah.
Because it's not some fantasy world. It's not written by some writer most of the time. It's hearsay a lot of times. And with the internet, with like Slender Man, there's not just a story, there's visuals, there's,
Mhm.
and then people go, wait, did I see that once? Wait, was that something I saw that day? Like, I saw this thing, but I never made the connection. So it's kind of like, are we educating ourselves with that, or are we creating our own legends that come to life? And the dynamic of the power of thought and the power
Yeah.
of what if is what really drives, back from the hook in the door with the date, or the man they ran over, or the hitchhiker coming back to life to come to chase them and kill them, or
Yeah.
all that stuff goes back to the first era of having, normal people have cars. Like, so some of these legends just never go away.
Speaking of urban legends of people who have cars, there's a movie coming out, The Man in the White Van, and we've every city, every place has that story of trying to trying to keep kids safe by telling them, look, there are people out there, there are monsters out there that could hurt you. Beware of the man in the white van. And you do see that a lot. Okay, well, this is a bad depiction of it, but but there is a story behind the free candy van, but which is an actual guy who drove around, and he actually did give free candy out, but it was for special events. And yeah, but there is that mythos of, and every city has a guy driving around in a white van.
Well, yeah, or well, in Tennessee, the roofs, we always got to fix these roofs because of the hail damage and the tree damage and the tornado damage and every kind of damage. So there's always a white van with a ladder, always.
Yep.
And I'm like, if I was a Tennessee kid, I'd be like, which white van, Mom?
Exactly. Like,
which one?
But
there's.
But I think in my neighborhood, there's at least 3 white vans that I see driving around on a daily basis. And it's like I remember seeing a comment on my neighborhood communication board stating, like, one guy is like, oh, there was a white van hanging out at around the school. And I'm just like, he probably was working in one of the houses. He's probably a cleaner.
Right? It's like, get a sticker for your van, guys. Or gals. Just make sure you have, like, they make big magnets. Just slap it on the door so nobody's scared of you, please.
Carl Witzman, my van and I were nowhere near that corner. You can prove it. You can't prove anything.
Carl, get some blue on there. Blue makes you look like a good guy. Okay, put some blue on there. Okay, stop scaring us. Okay. Apparently, we're easily urban legend frightened, and we don't want to see no more. Or the slow moving black car that nobody's driving.
Yep.
Have you heard those ones yet? That's a newer urban legend. So yeah, so there's been a few times, and I'm gonna look it up and see if there's any actual, like, Reddit or anything like that, because I forgot about this. But
if it's on the internet, it's definitely on Reddit.
I don't know if it's on the internet, but so back in the 90s, it was a thing to have a black car, and those tinted windows came out, and there was more than one time that I could have sworn I heard stories about, like, black cars, which and it was for a little while they blamed it on gangs. They said that it was, but there were times where, they would have police go up there to the car and shine the light, those big old lights that they had. Nobody's in the car.
Oh.
So maybe those were urban legends. They were up north, and there were some big gangs up there, and maybe someone just ran real fast and hid under their car. I don't know. But anybody heard of this before? Because this is I never thought to ask this. This is the first time I am asking anybody else. Have you ever heard of the black car with black windows that rolls slowly down the road, but that ends up being nobody was in the car? You know, it parks and it just comes back, and nobody sees somebody go in and or out of the car.
Interesting.
I mean, maybe, you know, we got some vampires.
Well, and now with today's technology, you can actually get a car that
self-driving.
Use your phone to drive, and I've seen it. I've seen that at car shows, and yeah, that's creepy. Like I don't know. I don't like the.
No, I don't want somebody. There's too many sci-fi. I was a sci-fi nerd. There's too many sci-fi stories with a self-driving car. If we don't even want to talk about that, can we talk about like what was it? What's the name of that spooky car that killed? Christine? Is that it?
Oh, yes.
Like we want to talk about, you know, spooky vehicle things. Talk about how many urban legends were wrapped around.
Is definitely upset, or at the time that he wrote Christine, he was obsessed with demonic vehicles, because that's not the first story he's written about a vehicle coming to life and killing things.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the Planet movie. Let's talk about Maximum Overdrive. Okay, I just watched this. You want to talk about urban legends causing you to be terrified of large vehicles? Being mowed down by a semi is a real terror, guys. On these roads, it is a real terror to get decapitated or something. And to see, oh my gosh, there was so much blood splatter in that movie.
See, and everybody loves the Christine car. And like it is really hard to find a 58 what was it, Belvedere.
Ooh, yeah.
Now red and but like one of our friends that we had, he was obsessed with the Christine car, and he made his car into the Christine car, and it was a beautiful car. Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, no, creepy, but cool. but creepy.
My husband's father, he has a 58 Fury, and people often come up to us and they're like, "Oh, is that a Christine car?" And they're like, "It's not red and white."
So the thought of being killed by your vehicle, you know, in Maximum Overdrive, they also are like, you know, a woman's cut by a turkey blade, an electric knife. It's like they're like kill it. They're like, he's hammering it. It's still going. That moment was a little too ridiculous and hilarious. But 10 million, you know, tons of all of these trucks bearing down on all of these human beings. You should see, if you haven't seen Maximum Overdrive all the way through, anybody who's watching. Yes.
I know I've seen it as a kid. I haven't watched it recently, but
I just watched it. And speaking as someone who saw it when I was younger, and Stephen King, I've never met you. I have a buddy who actually looks like Stephen King, and every time he goes to one of my Halloween parties, I tell him, don't wear a costume, just wear your regular clothes, because he does disturbingly look like Stephen King. He could be his stunt double. Oh. No problem. But this gentleman is disturbing as that is. Stephen King is a fuel of the fire of the urban legends a lot, yeah. I would say, in our culture, because his stories, much like the creepypasta for my kids' generation, kind of just the earworm. It kind of just like, you know, worked its way into our psyche. And then the more we thought about those things and the subtleness, there's a thriller kind of aspect to a lot of his stories that, you know, if you're bored easy, you're going to have to, you know, fast forward. But if you can stand the intensity of, oh my gosh, is that about to hit them? Like, yes, it's terrifying. And he has got some good ones.
And I grew up watching like his movies from the 80s, 70s and 80s, and now it's like it seems like every so often, every few couple years, like his book will, or a short story of his will become a movie. I remember there was like even TV shows that popped up, like Tommyknockers, like TV series. Tommyknockers may not be one of his best stuff, but it still spawned up, these really creepy stories that you still hear today. Like you're passing around as if it's fact today. And R.L. Stein. I don't feel like he gets enough love because from my generation.
No, you're right.
His stories, like I loved Goosebumps, but I absolutely love the Fear Street stories.
I feel like R.L. Stein did do an amazing job, and I mean the one that people, Scary Stories, the one that I think it was Scary Stories. No, it was R.L. Stein, The Mask.
Yeah, the Mask, and he did
that one right there. Like that one is the one that people mention the most when we talk about it, because the terrifying idea that you cannot stop being something.
Yeah,
like that you are stuck. That your face will freeze that way. Kind of remember when our my parents did that. They were like, "You will stay that way." I mean, they didn't say that because they were from up north, but yeah, the idea that your face can be stuck as someone else, and then people will no longer see you as you, is terrifying. So to tap into that, that creepy valley idea, way ahead.
And it's only now in the last 10 years that his story, well, okay, so there was like the whole thing in the 90s, early 2000s, where Goosebumps became a TV show.
Oh, yeah.
But now it seems like a lot of his stuff is starting to become, more popular because of Netflix.
Oh, well, it's also because of the generations, the 80s and 90s reboom. All of that, the fashion came out, the Goosebumps t-shirts. I bought my kid one because I was like, I know you, and I know you read them because I didn't want you to read them that young. And so I know you read them, and I read them. And so, yeah, I got I think it was the creepy theme park one that I bought her. But that's another thing, the R.L. Stein, the Goosebumps series, it felt like it fueled that urban legend, genre in a big way. It kind of like didn't leave a gap, honestly, that much, because it became an obsession for a lot of people. I knew very few friends that didn't have at least one of those books.
Yeah. So there is a new series coming out in January on Hulu and Disney Plus.
Ooh.
And tell me if you recognize this actor that's on the poster. Sorry. Have to put it up first. All right.
Oh, yes, I've seen this. Oh, I'm so excited. I won't deny I am excited about this.
David Schwimmer.
That imagery is terrifying all by itself.
That is David Schwimmer.
I know.
And we know him from Friends. He hasn't really done much. But I'm excited for this because they're touching on the vanishing. And the poster is definitely terrifying. It's David Schwimmer's classic confused look. And it's almost like he's being torn apart by some inky substance.
Or like exploding from the inside. Yeah, it's terrifying looking. But he actually, though he did seem to disappear relatively, he did do a few cameos here and there. I did love Friends, and I was very intrigued by how the different people branched off.
He's
Luke
a
Perry
very
versus
good writer. Like he kind of disappeared there for a while, but he became like more of a
Broadway.
writer.
Broadway. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was already stepping his toes, fingers, and a lot of other pieces of him before Friends ever ended with the money that he was making into Broadway. And then he kind of like went full force afterwards. But they lost one of their beloved, we lost one of them, and
Matthew Perry.
it's Matthew Perry, I have to say, is I'm it's like Robin Williams. It's like, why?
Yeah.
It's so sad. And I'm hearing the testimony from the rest of the group, the main, he would never really, he had a broken heart, and it never really healed, and he could never really envision himself being happy outside of that.
And unfortunately, drugs and alcohol, it has their long lasting effects on a person as well.
Yeah.
I have often said this too, though, where sometimes it feels like there is a serial killer in Hollywood, and whether or not that's true, but in the back of my mind, because it's like you don't want to accept someone's death, and there are several deaths from over the last years that just seem very strange.
Yeah, I feel like his was definitely, one of those where if I didn't know how depressed of a person he was, if I didn't know how sad, same thing with Robin Williams and a few others, then I would say, somebody murdered them. But in his case, definitely in Robin's also, I feel like the serial killer is in the murderer in this is depression.
Yeah.
And being part of the fall season, it's a real time of year right now for us to worry about, the blues. And so just a side note real quick, sorry, Willow, if you are experiencing the holiday blues, or the, when it gets darker like this, please, don't let it get dark on the inside. If it's up here and it's in here and it's,
reach out. I'm always willing to talk to people. I'm a good listener. So
also,
if you need someone to talk, I'm here.
Yeah. Also, please do not be afraid to believe that you are brave enough that you can reach out to a real professional if you need it also, because sometimes it just takes a minute. It seems terrifying, just as these urban legends do. But the truth is we don't want you to become one of those urban legends. We want you to stick around and keep watching and to keep hanging out with us and talking to us and being a part of this community that we love. And so during this time of year, no matter how scary it might seem, promise that it is worth keeping going. And there are those of us who will help you and encourage you to fight your inner demons, as well as the spooky ones that might visit us during this time of year on the outside.
And as promised, I have the link to the Justice for Cats Found Dismembered and Dead in Apparent String of Violent Attacks. Please sign this petition, or sign this because we need petition signatures to ensure that the animals that have been killed by the evil couple that sadly live in my city, we need justice for the animals, and these guys need to stay in jail, or have strict laws put against them so that they can seek treatment and they aren't released to the public until that treatment is I'm going to say forced upon, because they need treatment. So here's the link to I'm posting in the chat. please sign the petition, and hopefully we can get justice for the animals that were unfortunately tortured and killed. That being said, I'm sorry for breaking down the the conversation again, but you guys, thank you for joining me, Aubrey. Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me right here on Miss Kindred Ivy on Instagram all the time. I'll be posting stuff about Back at the Cereal Box and, of course, Geek Discoveries and Cosplay Cafe when I am on there, which I just was on Friday. So check out that episode if you haven't seen it yet. I was McGonagall. So that was fun. Yes, I got to, that was a gift from Cosplay Cafe. They gifted me a hat so that I could complete my McGonagall cosplay in honor of our wonderful actress that we lost just recently, Dame Maggie. And so I wanted to give a little shout out to her also, and say thank you to everybody that's watching, and happy spooky season. This is my last episode on any podcast until November. Because I will be doing my party for the last weekend of October, and then on October 31st I will be hopefully face painting for Haunting in the District here in Columbia, Tennessee. So cross your fingers and wish me good luck for the spooky season for that, guys.
Excellent. All right, so you guys can find me all over social media. I am the social media socialite. You can find me. I get invited periodically onto other people's shows, so so stay tuned. I'm sure there's going to be shows popping up in the next little while. Halloween's coming up. I have plans of decorating my house, and Comic-Con. Winnipeg Comic-Con is coming up, and we have some of the actors from from Lord of the Rings coming, and we have a bunch of voice actors. So you guys pay attention. Next weekend is Winnipeg Comic-Con, so you guys will be inundated with videos, and I'm gonna do my best to try to set up a space where I can interview cosplayers and other, maybe a guest. I'll see what I can do, but I can't promise you a guest. Definitely want to interview cosplayers and the creative people that do amazing jobs on their outfits every year. In the meantime, if you liked our show, become a Cereal Box Super Friend at patreon.com/cerealboxpodcast. That is patreon.com/cerealboxpodcast. All right, you guys have a great night. Have a happy Halloween. Stay safe, and please, please make sure that you do not let your animals roam, or they may not come home. That is important.
Protect the fur babies, and happy Halloween.
Take care, guys.
It's like Coca-Cola, Levi's